Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website. Kevin De Bruyne, possibly, and I mean possibly, coming to the MLS. Kelcey's in giggles right now. I'm really curious as to why. But if anybody knows, Kevin De Bruyne is entering his final season with Manchester City. Has it been a great final season with Manchester City? No, because he's been can't stay healthy for anything. And I think that's kind of summed up his last couple of years now with Man City. He's just been dealing with injury after injury, and some of the most bizarre injuries as well. That can happen to a person has happened to KDB. KDB, who I think many view as one of the best cams in the Premier League. Part of that Belgian golden generation that did absolutely nothing. This is where I kind of think maybe we're being too loosely with the word golden generation. But yeah, he was part of Belgium's golden generation that once again did absolutely nothing. But he has been a bright spot for Manchester City. He was one of many of Jose Mourinho's biggest flops. Guys that he shipped away thinking that they were nothing, along with Mo Salah and Lukaku. Was Lukaku one of them?
Yep, Lukaku was one of them.
Lukaku and
twice Lukaku he had and then shipped out.
Yeah, so you know what? If Jose Mourinho thinks you're crap, you should really be happy because that's a great stamp of approval.
and then you know who he loved, right? Was Ibrahim Al-Shaarawy, the old Italian winger.
Yikes! And he's now at Roma.
Isn't bad now. He cut his hair and he's finally understanding how to play soccer again. But yeah, it took him a while to get there.
Yeah, that's a good name drop, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe you don't want to be in Jose Mourinho's list of good players. So, maybe you do want to be shunned by him because that means you're elite. But yeah, so Kevin De Bruyne, he's definitely thinking that it's time for him to step away from Europe. And last summer, literally this past summer, it was said that he was going to go to a team in the Saudi Pro League. Apparently the deal was done. Everything was going to be finalized, but then I was like, nah, I'm not going. I'm going to stay with Manchester City. Why? I have no idea. Maybe he failed a physical. I can't tell you what really happened. But there's another speculation. Saudi League still seems to be a rumor that's being brought up, but from what I've been reading is Kevin De Bruyne has been reached out by San Diego FC. He's been a name that there's been a lot of names thrown out for San Diego FC. I'll just be frank with it. Memo Ochoa, Sergio Ramos.
Every name possible that looks like to be in that retirement era.
I know. Chucky Lozano is actually the only signed player to San Diego FC right now, as far as I know. So they still have 2 DPs that they still need to work. Technically, I guess 3 more DPs if they choose not to use the U20. MLS is so complicated. But yeah. So he seems intrigued by the San Diego FC, that opportunity. Also, I should point out, this is probably the reason why he will end up going to the MLS, is his wife does not want to go to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's all I need to know. His wife, I think she feels that her children will be better suited in San Diego over Saudi Arabia, which I think that's a pretty easy decision on that part. But obviously the saying goes, happy wife, happy life. So I'm sure that's why Kevin De Bruyne will end up choosing San Diego FC. But I do have a concern. But before I go into that concern, Kelcey, what are your thoughts as far as initially all this for Kevin De Bruyne possibly joining MLS?
all the good that I talked about early about the schedule change and trying to get rid of the retirement league comes right back around. And this is forever going to be the concern, it feels like, where players hit 32, 33 years old. They get a step slow for the English Premier League, the La Ligas, the Serie A's of the world. And they're like, man, America sounds pretty good right now. Let's go spend 2-3 years there hanging out on the sunny San Diego beach side. Um, it's disappointing because as a fan of the MLS, I do want big names to come to the MLS, but I want good big names that are going to provide actual on-field performances. I don't want Frank Lampard's every time. It's no longer what I want. Honestly, don't even want Thierry Henry's anymore. Would really, really, really love to have somebody like what you got with Keane when he came over and played with the Galaxy. And I don't think this is it for De Bruyne. I get why he wants to come to the MLS. It's fine. But man, that just like it ruins everything about the whole we don't want to be a retirement league anymore conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people would be like, "Oh, look, you should be thankful. We have one of the best cams to ever play in the world in our league." Yeah, sure. We got Leo Messi too. What's your point? Take the how you guys are. If anybody wants to pick slide out of that, go ahead. But yeah, this is just one like I don't know, man. Great for San Diego. You got to get a big name. You got to get butts in the seats, but maybe look at Atlanta and how they did it first, which is getting a bunch of good quality players that are young and talented to come and play as DPs, get you a title, and get out. Like, hate to say it, Atlanta's riding on the coattails of a title, and that's they still have a rabid fan base, but at the same time, they haven't been able to put the same level of talent on the field since Almiron moved on to Newcastle. And at the same time, that should have been a blueprint for how to do it for the future, expansion squads. And yet at the same time, we're seeing Inter Miami going and getting big names. We're seeing now San Diego going and getting big names as well. Who knows? Maybe we're going to see the same thing when Sacramento Republic ends up in the league, but we're not seeing the same passion for trying to build a young, talented squad as we did when Atlanta came in. And that's my problem with this is you're a young team. You're finally getting a start. You're gonna kick it off with Kevin De Bruyne, who at the time in 2025, when this starts, probably be approaching his 34-year-old age, coming off a long season at City. Not even you won't even get him till the summer of 25. Like, is it worth it? I don't know. You might get 2 years rental out of him. It's tough. It's like it's great for De Bruyne, but for the MLS, I'm not a fan of it. But that's me. I hate these situations where it's like a retirement tour basically for him.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned my exact concern. I think his health situation is the alarming part. I think he should at this point. I think he's just better off retiring because I don't know what he can bring to the table besides maybe a couple of weeks of good attendance in San Diego. And here's the thing though, and maybe some people will get mad at me for saying this, but Kevin De Bruyne, while he is a star, I think he's a good name, but he's only a name of if you know the game, you'll know who Kevin De Bruyne is.
That's fair.
Because I mean, let's be honest, Manchester City, that's not the first name you think of.
Yeah.
You're gonna think of Erling Haaland. You're gonna think of that's it. It's Erling
Maybe
Haaland.
3 years ago, I think you could have thought of him, but I don't know if now he's the top guy. I think Bernardo Silva has passed him. I think even
because the thing is with me is obviously yes, he's world class. I'm not taking that away from him, but it's not like anybody knew that Kevin De Bruyne would be who he is now with Manchester City. I mean, he wasn't like a big sign. Like he wasn't like up there when it comes to like the Manchester City big signings that they did, which is like a Robinho, a Carlos Tevez, like
David Silva,
a David Silva, like those signings where everybody's like, oh shoot, Sergio Aguero, Like, like those are the names you think of when you think of Man City. Kevin De Bruyne was just, let's bring this guy in, and it was like, oh shoot, we got a 10. That's literally what it
He was the
was.
Craig Bellamy of signings.
Yeah. It was just like a happy coincidence that this guy happened to be their guy. And I think, and I'm not, once again, this isn't me bashing on Kevin De Bruyne. I think obviously an amazing career, successful time, definitely a clear part of like the good pair, which I mean, part of the success of what Manchester City had, the multiple, league titles, the Champions League title. I mean, yeah, he did get injured in the Champions League final, but still, you know, he's still part of that team's history. Like the story of Manchester City doesn't get said without Kevin De Bruyne as well. But once again, he's just not the name that's gonna get people excited. At least that's what I think. And then the other thing is just his health. Is he gonna be healthy enough to give you a season? And I'm worried about a season. I'm not even thinking about 2 seasons.
Well, that's fair.
And,
I mean, I think it's worth noting his first season will be a half season no matter what.
And so. that's valid. And then also depending on how this the new season format goes.
Yeah. So you might get a whole season, but it's going to be split into 2 seasons.
So yeah, who knows, man? At this point, but I don't know. I just don't know how much he has left of him. I guess it all depends on how he recovers. I mean, he hasn't been able to play for Man City this year. I think he's played a few matches this season so far.
I believe it's double digits.
Okay. But still, health has been a big issue for him, and I think at this point, I mean, if you're Man City, if Phil Foden is not playing your 10 spot, then I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Phil Foden's been playing at all this year, or if he has been like significant minutes because I mean, Doku is just.
Sorry, it has been 1 match this season for. Oh, that's Champions League. 5 matches in the Premier League and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, hold on. 1.
So 5 Premier League games and 1 Champions League game, so that's 6 games so far.
Yeah, 6 total matches.
Any Carabao Cup or
1 Community Shield.
Well,
that was early this season. So yeah, I mean, so five total matches for Man City.
Yeah, so hasn't really been available, but I mean, even despite that, I mean, Man City is still doing their thing. So I think he understands that. Yeah, he's not needed at Man City, but I just don't know if. I honestly think he should just retire.